Just a quick note before this free video. If you click live, we are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays, Andrew Zarian. And it is Monday here on the show. You know what that means? It's Thanksgiving week. So, show on Thursday. I'll be eating. But we got a lot to talk about today and tomorrow and throughout the week, including Full Gear. What did everybody think of Full Gear? A lot of people talking about Full Gear. Some liked it, some didn't like it. Some liked things about it, some didn't like things about it. Where do you fall? Well, you can text us 425-780-7566. We'll talk about the pay-per-view, as well as where we're going with the Continental Classic. They did the selection gimmick yesterday on some social media somewhere. Doesn't matter, I'll tell you what's in it. But we'll talk about that. Plus, the Dynamite show coming up on Wednesday. SmackDown is being taped. Raw is tonight. War Games is Saturday in Vancouver. I'll be driving up there to watch the show. And so we can talk about all of those things, plus the news. Besides the Continental Classic, Jade Cargill out of action. She's injured. And we'll tell you what's likely to be happening and where this might be going leading all the way to WrestleMania. We have got the New Day 10-year anniversary celebration next week on Raw. Yes, they will be celebrating. And they've got a lot of different things going on related to that. We'll tell you about that. Bryan Danielson talks his future. We've also got a bunch of news from this weekend, including a bunch of WWE wrestlers working indie shows, and there will be many more to come. We've got more WWE ID talent, updates on all sorts of different things, and notes from SmackDown on Friday with the return of Paul Heyman. It's a lot to get into here today. Mike Sempervive joins us. And we have a big guest coming up at the end of the show, Lee Moriarty. That's right. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
Leg drop.
Sorry, but you don't have your shell yet.
That's it. Continue. Damn, you gotta stop laying on your head like that.
Let's go, Treehouse.
Show your name's Turtle.
Turtle.
Roll for sure.
Figure four? A figure four? You can know the figure four? That's too funny. And a sleeper. Where's the Ansaguri?
He likes it. Use the ball.
I think you look bad on that one.
Drop it back.
On that.
Oh, blame on the ref.
Show Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. What is Tom texting me? I can't get rid of this guy.
How'd that filthy?
Oh my God, his dog again?
What's the matter with his dog?
Actually, he makes a great point right here.
What's that?
So there was a MMA show, and I don't remember who, what, when, where, why, or how. But the important thing is this guy won, like knocked this dude out, and then like his little dog got in the ring, and so the guy reaches down to pet his dog or whatever, and his dog goes, boom, gives this guy a high five. I'm talking like a high five from way up high.
It's a working dog.
This dog like got on hind legs, arm goes up, and boom, gives this guy a high five. And it's a freaking incredible video. And
I could probably find that at Filthy Tom Lawler.
Yep. But here's the point, okay? So in 2024, these are the 3 number 1 clips out of pro wrestling companies on Twitter, okay? So on Twitter, the number 1 pro wrestling clip of 2024 was Joe Hendry arrives in NXT. 18.7 million views on Twitter. Okay.
All right.
The Undertaker at WrestleMania XL. Whatever that means. XL? What is that? Is that 15?
Roman numerals. No, it's 50.
There hasn't been a WrestleMania 50.
Or whatever
40.
it is. 40.
40.
I'm sorry.
Okay, XL.
40.
Oh yeah, because the X takes away from the L. Whatever.
There you go.
Do I look Roman? Anyway, 11.3 million. Okay, that's number 2.
All right.
Okay. Number 3, which at this point is going to quickly become number 2 because it's so close. Number 3 is the Costco guys on AEW Dynamite.
Naturally.
Okay. They're at 10.8 million. All right. So right now they're number 3 for 2024 at 10.8 million. Undertaker WrestleMania 40 is 11.3. Joe Hendry at NXT is 18.78. Okay. Well, this frickin' dog giving a high five is at 30 million. Okay. 3 times the Costco guys.
Well,
3 times the Undertaker. And basically double Joe Hendry at NXT. This dog giving a high five.
the dog is more lovable than all of those people you just mentioned.
So if you want to see the dog giving a high five, well, head up there. It's on Filthy's
X.
Filthy's X. Yeah. This dog, you never seen a high I laugh every time. But boom! That's some real good ass.
Did you say boom?
I did say boom. I like those Costco guys.
I'm sure.
I know nothing about them. I know nothing about them, but let me tell you something.
Why do you like them?
That Big Boom AJ can cut a freaking promo, dude.
Well,
He cut one of the best promos in all of AEW of late. And listen, you can say, Brian, whatever. I'm telling you this as a viewer, and I'm also telling you this because I got feedback from a whole bunch of people that actually went to Full Gear. Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall was the second hottest match on the show in terms of crowd reactions. Number one was obviously the Will Ospreay Kyle Fletcher match. That was the most over match in front of that crowd. And granted, this was not like a great crowd. Like, they weren't super in everything. Somebody estimated that, and I quote, 50% of this crowd sucked, was their reaction. But the second most over match was Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall. And it's funny because Mushroom Man 674 here says, casuals like celebrity matches. They do, okay? They do. However, that was not a great crowd at Full Gear. Like, they were dead often on that show, okay? However, if you look at what got the biggest pops all night, okay? One of them, the biggest, obviously, was Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. But, like, that match was absolutely incredible. You could take any human being with a pulse and show them that match, even if they're not a fan, And they would probably get into that match because it was so physically incredible, okay? And that was like 2019 AEW, what AEW was all about. Like, you're going to see something that is absolutely state-of-the-art. You know, the time WWE was not state-of-the-art. And so that's what you got in 2019, 2020 is, oh my God, look at these matches. Well, that's what this was. That was number one, okay? Let's talk about the three other things that were massively over on this show. I shouldn't say massively over, but got over. The second half of the Mercedes Moné match with Chris Statlander, which got over because of frickin' great wrestling. That built to a great match, okay? The people got into a great story in the match, okay? The other one was the MJF Roderick Strong match, which got over because MJF was determined, absolutely determined, to do every trick in the book to get the crowd to hate him. And they worked a very simple heel versus babyface match. And it didn't work the whole time, but it pretty much worked, okay? The third thing was the one near fall that Orange Cassidy got in the main event with Jon Moxley. And the reason it worked was the way they built that match, which was Moxley he murdered this guy for hours on end, to the point where the fans probably started thinking, Orange is like, gotta win. Moxley, and then they did the briefcase spot behind the referee's back. Moxley sold it great. Orange covered, and it was the hottest near fall of the entire show. Simple, basic, built to a moment, and it worked. And the other thing was the Costco guys match. And my point is this. Those guys might be like celebrities and everything, and that played a part into it. But if you watch that match, that was such a simple, old school heel versus babyface. The heel beat up the guy that everybody loved. He gave him hope spots and the people got into. The babyface made a perfectly good comeback. QT sold great for the guy. QT was about to win, but then the other guys that you all love hit the ring, and we had the spear, which the people went nuts for, which QT sold great, and then Big Boom ended up getting the pin. It was old school professional wrestling in the opener. Of course it got over, because they did a great job. So anyway.
Really good Gaga. And credit goes to QT Marshall for sure. I don't know what he had to do to set it up. You know, the guy wrestled with him in New Jersey 20 years ago. I don't know how exactly the connection was made to get them into AEW and to decide on doing this, but whoever did, congratulations. All of the olds like me who just kind of shrugged over the chocolate chunk cookie, whatever, and the kid with the face doing the thing. Okay, it doesn't really do anything for me, but it obviously is something that a lot of people gravitated towards. And on the show, they pulled off what they needed to do perfectly. So I can't complain about it. I don't know why anybody else would really be complaining about it. They got a little bit of publicity out of this deal, I hope, for them. So good. That's what the whole thing is about doing when you have celebrities. At this point in the game, with what Logan Paul and Bad Bunny have done for matches, you know, the celebrity match, forget it. It's going to be hard to try to top anything like that. But when you have a situation like this, as Brian mentioned, the simpler you make it, the easier you make it, the better it's going to come off. Especially if there's a guy who's actually got some wrestling experience like this dude did.
This Titus fella figured it out. Isn't it weird how you get good reactions when you have a clear-cut good guy and a clear-cut bad guy?
How about that?
Well, hold on. That's part of it, but it's also, these things were simple.
Yeah.
They kept it simple. They had a clear-cut good guy, a clear-cut bad guy, and they had the best reactions on the show. The guy on our board, it's quitting the YouTube channel because he didn't like our review of the final segment of the show when everybody was doing everything. And the funny thing is, it wasn't just me. It's like, I've heard nothing but people that don't know what's going on. They thought it was convoluted and a mess. And there's a reason for that. And I'll tell you after the break.
YouTube, I can't believe it.
Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. We all went to the AEW Wrestle Dream pay-per-view. in the Tacoma Dome. What a dump.
They've remodeled in the last 5 years.
I don't want to watch a show in the Tacoma Dome. I'm over that part of my life.
So this is all about
I
you.
want
Okay.
It is all about me. It's my show.
Yep.
Sick of these crappy dumps.
Rico. Yes. Rico Constantino.
When Rico Constantino showed up on the screen, I almost fainted.
If you would have slapped me with a bass, I would have been less surprised.
A bass,
Yeah.
you say?
Excuse me.
You heard me.
Now, you mean the fish or like a bass, the instrument?
No, a bass.
Well, he would have said a bass if he meant a bass.
Shibata hooks a rear naked choke, and Shibata's shoulders were down, and the referee counted 3.
I don't care what happened in Florida in 1973.
That is an Eddie Graham babyface finish when he wanted a heel to get a fluke win.
The crowd hated it.
Hated it.
You know, people are upset that Adam Cole's back as a babyface or whatever.
Why?
But, dude, he's been gone for a year. So they obviously want to do Adam Cole and MJF. MJF is a heel. So obviously Adam Cole is coming back as a babyface.
Yes. Will Ospreay, Takeshita, and Ricochet. My rating for this match was 1 zillion stars. I believe this may be my new favorite 3-way ever. John Moxley versus Bryan Danielson.
You have
Not
to
a
say it in
fun
such a
match.
sad way.
Yes! It was sad. It was a sad match. That's it, before we even get to the post-match. The whole thing, start to finish, was sad. It was meant to bum you, the fans, out.
It worked.
It worked. It elicited emotions, which is what art is supposed to do.
It was very much like The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels when Undertaker retired him, and like that's exactly what happened, is everyone just slowly stood up and quietly, sadly walked out of the building that night.
There was one gentleman that was walking by us, and he was dripping in Bryan Danielson's merchandise. And he was wailing, and he cried, forget my language, I can't believe they punked out my favorite wrestler like a bitch. And he was so
Oh, wow.
upset.
And we go into that press conference. All I got to say about Don Callis is, man, I can't help but notice he's got a big mouth when he's got Takeshita right next to him, doesn't he?
That was a scintillating question. And I think maybe after that, we're finally, the Bryan and Vinny show might actually just be the Bryan show. That was producer Rob level stuff right there. Need to work on your game a little bit. Okay. Next.
Rob's so excited and happy now. He texted me today. So it looks like I'm feuding with Don Callis. Ha ha. That's what he texted me.
That's not the way I took it at all. I looked at his wiener, and now he's mad at me. Duh.
Show Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. I don't want to waste a lot of time with this,
Yeah.
but this main event angle that they did, like, it's funny because like all I hear, and it's not even from people that like are fans and on our board and everything, but like I heard from people in AEW that were like, why is this so convoluted? Like, what's going on? And fans said that. I said that. Like, this guy got so angry. He's like, I can tell you everything that's going on. It all made sense. And so he had like a bullet, this. And I actually, even though he's quitting, I appreciated it because it suddenly made me realize something, which actually plays into something that you said during the break.
All right.
Which was, you said, is Vinny, is Vinny going to figure out like this Claudio thing?
Will he be satisfied?
Will he be
with
satisfied?
What the answer is.
And I was like, what is the answer? And you said, well, Claudio turns out he is now Moxley's emissary for Wrestle Dynasty.
He is.
He is going to Wrestle Dynasty to take out Shooter, right?
I believe that's what it is, yes.
Yes,
January 5th.
I believe that's official. Shota Umino versus Claudio Castagnoli.
Yes, and Shota could be your IWGP World Heavyweight Champion by
Yes. So it really struck me when you said that and this guy's post that one of the issues with AEW is that, yes, you can connect all of the dots. Like the guy's going through and he goes, well, Hangman and Christian are, they're aligned with each other. And that's why Hangman had to clear the ring to set up Christian's cash-in. And obviously, Jay White, he screwed Christian out of the cash-in. And he explains all of this, and I'm sitting there thinking, and Darby's mad at BCC and everything like that, and it really hit me that yes, and Lenny does this all the time. Yes, you can connect all of the dots, okay, but connecting all of the dots doesn't mean that something makes sense, or that something is the right thing to do,
or it
okay?
needed to happen exactly.
Because yes, you can connect all the dots in that final segment. But what actually happened? Well, in order for Hangman to help out Christian, he actually saved Orange Cassidy, and he beat up Wheeler Yuta. So, he got cheered. So then he does a face-to-face with Moxley, who's the champion, and Christian runs in to hit the thing or whatever. And now everybody is they're into these two guys. They're into Christian. They're cheering Christian, and they're cheering Hangman because they think there's going to be a cash-in on this heel for the world title. I don't think they're supposed to be cheered. So then Jay White, who's a babyface, he runs down to stop the cash-in. The guy gets booed, even though he's a babyface, because he's preventing a cash-in. So then we go outside, and Darby T-bones the car and everything, and he starts screaming at the BCC. He's all angry and everything like that. And yeah, you can connect the dots, but if you think any deeper than the dots, it's Darby got squashed, basically, by Claudio on Wednesday. The BCC did not interfere. It was a one-on-one match. Claudio beat him in a wrestling match clean in the middle, took his head off with a lariat. And so Darby, a babyface, lost a match clean, and his reaction is to attempt murder, vehicular homicide by T-bone. What? And then there's a whole Adam Cole thing. The guy's really mad. He goes, it was explained on television. Kyle is mad at Adam because Adam is dragging his friends into this feud with MJF. That's why he shoved at... And I'm okay, I got that you can connect those dots. That doesn't mean it makes sense. Adam Cole didn't tell Roderick Strong that he was going to go after MJF. In fact, what happened was Roddy and Adam both wanted MJF, and that's why they had a best-of-3 series to see who could get him. So yeah, you can look at what Kyle said on Wednesday and then see how that played in his Saturday. But dude, I was watching Wednesday. I was this doesn't make any sense. Kyle's mad at Adam for dragging Roddy. He didn't drag Roddy. Roddy decided to do this on his own. So yes, you can connect dots and see how something, but that doesn't mean that any of it makes any sense. And the main event segment was a very convoluted segment. It confused people. It got the wrong reactions. So, it's not an effective thing to me when that happens. And I see that a lot. So anyway.
Unlike Roderick Strong, though, he's right. Everything did make sense. It just didn't have to be done all at one time. Know what you also forgot about in everything that took place in the post-match? One of the most over people in the company, in fact, the most over woman they have on the roster, Willow Nightingale, has now appeared, and finally somebody can be a balance to Marina Shafir. But that also happened in the fallout of everything that was taking place.
That's right. We didn't even mention that one.
It was too much. It was too much. And you could have skipped all of the stuff that took place with Jay White and Hangman and Christian and save that for a television show. Okay, if you want to have Darby still out of his mind crazy and crash the car, okay, you could have done that, but you didn't need all of that other stuff that was right there in the middle. It was actually too many takeaways from the show. And again, the show itself overall I thought was really very good, and it was because of those middle matches that took place. And I liked the fact that there were a lot of singles matches. They did have the big party tag team match. That, to me, shouldn't have been on the pay-per-view, but I understand why it was when you had all the other singles matches on there. So I like the fact that they didn't have a bunch of bangers on there, but there was a little bit of superfluous stuff. Ricochet and Takeshita did not need to be done on short notice for the type of match that they have. It didn't need to be there, but the other stuff I thought was very good, especially, again, at the front of the show.
So anyway, I thought I like the matches. I like the matches probably better than anybody as I go through it. But, going back to the crowd reactions, I mean, crowd reactions are important. And, the character motivations, as this person here says in the chat, the character motivations at the end of the show, that angle, resulted in the crowd being confused and booing and cheering the wrong people. And as we saw up and down the rest of the show, the best crowd reactions were when the fans knew who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, what's this simple story here. And it makes people mad because WWE said... I don't want to hear it, okay? You're watching it with your own eyes. This is what the AEW audience is cheering and booing and getting into, and this other stuff is what they're not. And what they're into is, I'm supposed to cheer this guy, I like him. I don't like that guy. And this is the simple story that I'm supposed to get into. That's what you have seen the audience react to. So I don't care if you like it or not. Like, that's what you're being told the audience wants. And it was the same thing on Dynamite, too. Wasn't a great crowd. But for, the simple, easy-to-follow stuff, they were into it. So, I don't know. It seems like there's a lesson here.
They seem to be into the Chris Statlander Mercedes thing.
I talked about that. It was a really good match. We had a babyface and a heel. They had good spots there at the end. And, it was effective. That's the kind of stuff that's effective. I mean, there was no heat for Ricochet and Takeshita. Zero. And partially because, Takeshita is supposed to be a heel, but all he does is stuff that people love, babyface stuff. They announced it on Twitter on Thursday at 9:30. Just, and it wasn't even all that good a match, to be honest, for those two.
It's like something that they teased and then went, wait, we can't go full bore with this. We got other plans. And then went, okay, we'll rush the match on. Again, there were 9 matches, so it wasn't like there was tons of overkill, but that match didn't need to be on there. And even though I told you what was going to happen and what is going to happen in this feud, the champagne celebration did not need to be on pay-per-view.
No, and it was pointless because there was no Tony Storm. It was what a waste of a segment.
No.
Yes.
Look, if you're not going to advertise a big Tony Storm return, it's silly. And to have the champagne celebration, a TV segment on the pay-per-view, doesn't make any sense. But what also doesn't make any sense is you rushing Tony Storm back into this thing when we haven't had... Yes, we haven't had Mina Shirakawa. Yes.
She's been gone since August.
Okay, has the TV suffered without Tony Storm on
Yes, actually, I think it has, to be honest. She was one of the most over acts on the entire show, and she's been gone for months.
And you say that, and she gets on there and then swallows everybody else whole.
Here's the other thing, though.
If you don't have a thing for her, and her thing is Mariah May, you got to get through Mariah and Mina first so she can come swooping in and save the day.
Well, here's the other problem. I got a lot to say. You didn't need to go to Mariah and Mina, because one of the problems is... they've literally been on TV together maybe 4 times, and they've already broken up. I don't even know why we had to rush this breakup, why it had to be done now, okay? And the other thing, and I know because I heard this from people in the building, you say that why bring Tony back and not advertise it? Bro, do you watch AEW? They do this all the time. CM Punk was not advertised. Everybody knew he was going to be there.
It was Chicago.
They literally do this all the time where they don't tell you someone's going to be there, but you know they're going to be there. And that's actually what happened with Tony because all I heard
assumed.
People in the building are like, where was Tony? It wasn't just me.
You know what happens when you assume.
Where was she? Mm-hmm. So anyway, they've got the Continental Classic, which we've got to talk about before the break. The Blue League looks incredible. We got... Okada, Kyle Fletcher, Daniel Garcia, Beast Mortos, Mark Briscoe, and Shelton Benjamin. Those guys will all face each other. And the Gold League has Ospreay, Juice Robinson, Brody King, Ricochet, Claudio, and Darby. They'll all wrestle each other, and that leads to the finals. And man, they put Okada and Kyle in the same block. Anyway, back in a moment with Lee Moriarty, Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Let's do this unnecessary censorship.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just your ass.
That was terrible. Horrible. They weren't the Heart Foundation. They weren't the British Bulldogs, okay? They're two geeks. And this celebration these guys did.
Oh.
I mean, they're like,
Sean, give me brother. Yeah.
A place like that?
you two dorks. That's what you did. Why are you so excited?
Because they're awesome.
Okay. That was better than the first one.
It picked up at the end there.
Yes.
Unnecessary censorship.
He beat him. And 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 he beat him. I'm sweating.
Time to stop.
And he beat him.
Was this edited?
And then he beat him. And he
I don't
beat
think
him.
so.
I actually wore that shirt. It just says he beat him. He beat him. He beat him all the way down. Like,
All the way down, you say?
I dropped her off at camp, and the camp counselor just looks at me. She goes, "He beat him and beat him." I was like, gag gift.
Brian, would you for me again this week? It's too hot to do much.
That's true. It is too hot to do much.
I guess I just better do it because it came up for me.
I'll wait.
It won't come up again. It's pretty short, so I'll just do it. Yeah. Now I gotta find it back.
Okay.
It isn't
Dale, I'm
coming
gonna
up.
kill you. How about you just it? Okay.
Ouch.
What else have we got, Vinny? I think Granny licks her finger to turn the page. Lick that finger. There'll be
Page
an
2.
unnecessary censorship coming up. Lick that. Okay, let's see. Unnecessary censorship.
So Oro Ethan after the match and gets his ass just into the earth.
Vinny.
And Ethan is leaving, holding his all confident. And then Oro just comes back to life, and now he Ethan's ass.
Oro jumps him from behind.
Yep.
Then he his ass after cheap shotting the guy. Haha. That was interesting. That's quite unnecessary. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. Of WrestlingObserver.com. Very happy today to be joined by a champion. Lee Moriarty is here on the program today. Lee, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Brian?
Ring of Honor Pure Champion, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You're the man who sent Wheeler Yuta into this death spiral by beating him, didn't you?
That's right. It's your fault.
I mean, I won't take credit, but it's possible.
Lee Moriarty here also. Shane Taylor Promotions. Shane Taylor, a good friend of this show. And, yeah, excellent. We got a lot to talk about here today, not just wrestling, but we can get into Shane Taylor Promotions later. Lee Moriarty, everybody, an excellent professional wrestler, but he has another talent that some of you may be unaware of. Isn't that right, Lee?
That's right. I am an artist, drawing, painting, photography, all the above, and I will have my first ever live art exhibit December 3rd through 7th in Miami with NADA, the new Art Dealers Alliance at the Ice Palace Studios.
I was actually going to build that up to a joke about how you were a voiceover talent because of your excellent speaking voice. But yes, yeah, Lee Moriarty, I got a lot of your artwork here right in front of me. And for those of you that are unaware, Lee does paintings of professional wrestlers, and all in masks. Is that correct?
That's correct. All the luchadors, all masked wrestlers.
Yeah, you've got Portrait of the Demon, which would be Blue Demon, obviously, Blue Damon, and Portrait of the Liger. I'm looking at here, which is Jushin Liger, and these are quite incredible. So I guess we're going to start talking a little bit about that. You began your art career, I guess, can we just safely say blatantly plagiarizing? Is that how we would term it?
Yeah, so like I actually was an artist before I was a professional wrestler for as long as I could remember. I would copy art from trading cards like Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Z, VH covers, and things like that. Just learn to copy and then learn the technique so that I can go on and create my own visions.
Do you, you know the Dogman comic book?
Dogman. It sounds familiar.
Yeah,
but
well,
I can't say
you
I've
probably
read it.
wouldn't. My kids read it, but like the point is, I think it's Dogman. They read a whole bunch of different comic books, but
yeah.
one of the authors, you know, he talks about how I learned to draw by just blatantly copying like the Peanuts comic strip. Like I would just copy it, you know, and you know, and then eventually he kind of, I guess it's like you copy for a while, you learn how to draw by copying, and then kind of your own sort of whatever gets put into it, your own unique whatever, and then next thing you know, it's like, you know, this guy's making millions doing these comic books based on just
yeah.
It started by copying stuff. What did you trace?
So I was never tracing, but it was just looking at one thing and then copying it to paper.
Sure.
But my dad would get me VHS covers of Dragon Ball Z. I would copy that. I would copy Pokemon cards. I would copy Yu-Gi-Oh. I would copy comic books from DC and things like that. And I think over time I developed my own style, like you were saying, and that's like a common thing with a lot of artists. Sometimes artists' best strengths come out in their presentation of their art. And I think a big strength of mine is scenery and backdrops. So that's why you see a lot of nature and things like that in my art.
So obviously this NADA here, in association with Orange Crush, I mean, it's going to be like a lot of your wrestling related paintings and such. But what else do you draw?
So I've done a lot of things. Like when I first got into wrestling, I was doing graphic design, designing T-shirts for other wrestlers and stuff. That's kind of how it helped pay while I was still trying to make money in professional wrestling at the beginning stages. But I've done my graphics, my logos for my T-shirts in AEW. I've done graphics for other people. I've done editing for my own zine that I published a couple of years ago. I've done all kinds of things, but I pretty much just draw what inspires me or interests me.
So obviously you're I would say a full-time wrestler now. Is that safe to say? Is that pretty much?
Yes.
Okay. So you're doing that, and you know, with the AEW schedule, I mean, you have a lot of time not on the road. And so is the rest of that time largely filled with your art?
Yeah, I like to spend a lot of my time at home painting, drawing, and things like that because I feel like it is a creative way to balance out my creativity when I'm not on the road. So I'll put on music, I'll sit down, and I'll just take my time painting, and I'll see where this project takes me. A lot of times I have a blank vision, which is very loose, and then the art will tell me what it wants to become towards the end, and I'll make the adjustments.
Lee, I know a lot of people, you know, they start with doodling and markers and work their way into charcoals and things like that. And then sometimes you get to painting and it's like, you know, for some people it's a natural. For other people, they go through a lot of acrylic trying to figure out how to do things. Were you a natural to get into painting, or was it something that you had to work at? Obviously, you have to work at it all the time anyway, but were you a natural for painting?
Yes and no. So when I was younger, I would paint for high school projects and things like that, and I did not like acrylic at all. I did not like painting at all because a lot of times with painting, you can't necessarily control it as much as you can with a pencil. You can't erase the same way that you can do with a pencil or pushing a backspace on a computer. So painting was not something I enjoyed when I was younger. As I got older, I started painting maybe 2-3 years ago. That first painting was the Jushin Liger thing, and that was, I guess, my maturity coming out in my art because I learned to give up control, not try to be so tight with the paintbrush, not try to be so commanding with where I want this to go. And that's where I am now, is my maturity of being an artist has come out through my art. And I wouldn't say I'm a natural, but I made a big jump from not liking painting to loving it.
You're telling me that this painting of Jushin Liger in a suit here was your first ever painting?
Not my first painting. So like I said, in high school I did paintings.
Sure.
And then like from there I did. But in terms of this series, that Liger was the first one I did, and I didn't start painting again until maybe 3-4 years ago.
Wow.
So that was the first one that kind of invited this series, and then Adam found me with Orange Crush magazine, and he encouraged me to paint bigger, and then he helped set up this thing with NADA in Miami.
Because that's a pretty incredible painting of Liger right there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got to be honest, when it comes to the world of AI that we're in right now, I know you do art because you love to do art, but I can see painting, original paintings, becoming far more valuable. There used to always be the joke about artists and art where after you're dead, all of a sudden people will appreciate you and you'll get your flowers and a bunch of money that can't do you any good because you're dead. But like, to me, it feels like in this world of AI that we're in, original prints, something especially like a painting, to me seems like something now that may be in some ways more valuable in real time than it ever has been before. How do you feel about selling your art and the value of doing things like that, as well as the dangers that AI bring in for artists?
Yeah, I think you're definitely right that the value of art, physical art specifically, is more valuable now. And I think a reason maybe is because of AI. And AI can't replicate what you can with a painting. There's emotion and feeling you get when you look at a painting, specifically in person, but there's also a level of texture when it comes to acrylic or oil painting. So if you buy one of these paintings, you can touch it, you can feel the layers, the leveling of this artwork. And I think that's why the value is. And I think AI is a very tricky thing because there's a lot of times it helps more so with plagiarism where someone can take credit for something that they did not create. So it's a challenge, but it's something I think artists have been doing well with in terms of adapting. Artists are always going to find a way to take that next step forward to make their things unique, make their things better, make their things stand out. And that's what I've done with mine. I don't feel the pressure of AI because I know who I am and what I can create.
So were you you talk about doing painting your entire life. I mean, were you a wrestling fan your entire life as well, or how did that start?
I started watching wrestling when I was like 12 years old, and that was more consistently. My grandfather, he would have wrestling on. My dad would have wrestling on when I was younger, but I never really paid attention to it until I got like right into my teenage years. From there, I decided that's what I wanted to do, and I think a big reason of that is because the aesthetic presentation of professional wrestling. No other physical form of combat or competing in the world allows you to express yourself the way professional wrestling does. When I come out to the ring, I design that mask. The jacket I wear, I painted that. Those things allow me to express myself more than if I were to jump into MMA, which has a little more regulations when it comes to sponsorships and things like that, or boxing.
So you started, I guess, 2015. What wrestling did you watch when you were 12? Just so the rest of us can all feel really old. What did you grow up watching?
So the thing that made me stop when I was channel surfing and start watching wrestling was the Boogeyman. You can say the Boogeyman is the reason that I became a wrestler in a loose sense. But then because I grew up with the internet, I pretty quickly found Japanese wrestling. I pretty quickly found Impact. I found independent wrestling, PWG and such. So it wasn't like a slow start for me. I could jump right in.
Thank God you didn't say like Jenna Maresca and Charmel or whatever it was.
He may have. One of my favorite things about interviews is always asking the wrestlers, like, or anybody, like, what was your first memory of wrestling? And you never hear like, oh man, I watched that SummerSlam match with Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect, and it was like a 5-star match. Yeah, it's always like, I was a real big fan of George the Animal Steel, and here we go, the Boogeyman got you into wrestling.
Yeah, you can say that for sure.
That is certainly an aesthetic.
Yeah. So obviously you did indies for a while, and then AEW began. And am I wrong, or did you have a match for AEW that was like great, and Tony immediately gave you a contract?
It was a process through 3 matches. So my first match was in Pittsburgh. I wrestled Dante Martin, and before that, actually, I had wrestled Orange Cassidy and Chris Statler in a tag team match with Trish Adora. And that kind of got me in to be able to do that match in Pittsburgh. I wrestled Dante. I think a little bit later, I wrestled Joey Janela. And then finally, I wrestled on a very short notice, Dan Garcia in Ohio. And after that match, Tony asked, do you want a contract? Would you like to sign here? And I said, yes. He brought me back out stage, and we made it official.
That's awesome. So that was 3 years ago?
Yeah.
3 years ago. So what are your thoughts about AEW Ring of Honor and like what do you got coming up?
We have Final Battle coming up in December. That will be in Hammerstein, as well as the Collision the day after. And then Dynamite for 3 days of professional wrestling out in New York. AEW just had a pay-per-view out in New Jersey for Full Gear. They have a pay-per-view at the end of the year, December, in Orlando, which will be World's End. So there's a lot of great things coming up with AEW. I'm very grateful to be here, to be able to learn from such a high level of talent, to grow as myself as a creative individual and a professional wrestler.
And obviously the NADA Miami exhibit, it'll be booth D204, and it'll be December 3rd through 7th. So you're going to be there 5 straight days.
Yeah, I will be there. December 2nd will be installation, and all the way up to the 6th, and then I will fly out to Columbus, Ohio for December 7th Collision and Ring of Honor event.
Wow. Which one takes more out of you, the wrestling or 5 days at the booth?
Well, this is my first ever exhibit, so I don't know how that's going to feel, but wrestling definitely can take a toll, and I think it'll still have the lead.
Well, Lee, I want to thank you so much for doing the show here today. Best of luck. We'll do a plug when we get back. And back in a moment, everybody. Observer Live.
Thanks.
Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful.
Happy birthday, dear Granny.
Happy birthday, Granny. Happy 95th birthday.
Thank you.
You got balloons behind you as well, Vinny. People can't really see them.
No.
They think it might just be your hump. But it's very festive
I
day
should not
today.
laugh at that. That's a horrible insult that you just gave.
Yeah,
me.
you laughed. It was a good one.
But it was funny.
Happy birthday!
Okay.
Happy birthday, Granny.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, I don't even know what you just said. Okay, go.
Bye!
Bye, girls. Close the door, please. Rob Wanska, a top fan. That granny is one of a kind. If you cannot see that, you're blind. Whether she's knitting a quilt or giving Brian some guilt, she's the greatest old gal that you'll find.
Was that, who was that?
Producer
That was
Rob.
Rob.
Producer Rob?
Yeah.
Fine
like
job,
that.
Rob.
He has talent?
Thank you,
For him.
Rob.
Wow.
This is Mariah May versus Anna J. Anna has a problem. Her top seems to want to drop down. She has to keep pulling it up. Mariah pins Anna for the win. I think Anna just gave up due to the fact that her wardrobe was malfunctioning.
That's what happened?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, if they wore decent clothes, it'd be better. Those T-straps are ridiculous.
Those what?
T-straps. Don't you know what a T-strap is?
No, I do not know what a T-strap
I don't think
is.
there's a T-strap in Brian's closet, Granny.
No.
Well, I don't know.
T-strap. Oh, a thong? Why don't you say a thong?
A what?
Never mind. You don't know what a thong is?
No.
Why are we having this conversation?
What part of the body is it on?
Does it go on the
woman.
top or the bottom?
On your
Butt?
butt. Yep.
Okay.
Granny had to be very careful. So it's a thong.
Why are we having this conversation?
According to the Old Testament of the Bible, who is the father of both Isaac and Ishmael?
Job.
Abraham.
Wrong.
Oh, really?
Abraham.
I just...
Did you say that?
Yes, he
I'm so-
did.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. You're right.
Yeah.
I just didn't hear you.
Well, Granny, I hope you had a happy birthday today.
I had to.
Hey, we got a special present for you. You are officially being inducted, yes, into the Hall of Awesome.
It's about time.
Yes. You know what that is,
Oh,
Granny?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I want everybody to see this. How can I show it?
Clearly, Granny is really excited about being inducted into the Hall of Awesome. She's busy showing off her trophy.
Is that an old gray mare trophy?
It's got a horse on it for some reason. Show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive. I want to thank Lee Moriarty for doing the show here today. Orange Crush is supporting this Lee Moriarty booth. They're going to be at the NADA Miami 2024, December 3rd through 7th. Solo presentation by Lee Moriarty. Booth D204 is noted. Orange Crush, we've had Adam on the show many times, making its introduction. NADA Miami with a solo booth of Moriarty's charming portraits. And if you head to my Twitter, X, at Bryan Alvarez, I retweeted some of his art that you can check out. And more info, how you can grab the limited edition t-shirt and more. So check it out, everybody. And that's it for today. We had Filthy Tom on about an hour ago. Finally managed to wrap up SmackDown, as well as the latest Speed tournament. If you want a recap of all of that.
You were able to find it all.
Yeah. I think the at WWE Speed account might be subscribers because they put the finals up now. So after we complained about it last week, whoever they are, thank you. So I watched all of those. And then later tonight, Wrestling Observer Radio returns with Dave Meltzer. We had a bunch of shows this past weekend. If you want more details on Full Gear, you can check those out, WrestlingObserver.com. Also, you can put F4WOnline.com before Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, and you can subscribe to the shows there. F4WOnline.com/YouTube, F4WOnline.com/Apple, F4WOnline.com/Spotify. Somebody out there, please sign up to replace the guy who quit. I got kids. Talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.